I like to think that HID Remapper has a flexible and reasonably powerful configuration system that lets you do a lot of things, including some non-trivial ones. But at some point you might decide that the configuration is not enough, and that you need to make some changes in the firmware code. Maybe you want to change something in the emulated device HID report descriptor. Maybe you need to change the GPIO pins that the USB host port is wired to. Maybe even make some changes to the remapping engine itself. Whatever your reasons are, after you make the changes in the code, you then have to compile the firmware to put it on your device. Compiling the firmware is not hard. There is a section in the README on the GitHub repository that tells you the necessary steps. But even though it's not hard, you still need to have some development environment set up. Fortunately, there's an even easier way. Let me show you how you can make some changes to the code and let GitHub compile the firmware for you, all using just a web browser. You could probably do it from your phone. Okay, first go to the HID Remapper GitHub repository. You're going to need a GitHub account. If you don't already have one, just click on Sign Up and fill out whatever information is required. There will probably be some CAPTCHAs, and it will want to verify your email by sending a code that you will have to type in. I already have an account, so I will just log in. Okay, I am logged in and I am on the HID Remapper repository. Click on Fork, create fork. Okay, now you have your own fork of the repository, which is just a copy. Next, you need to go to the Actions tab to enable workflows. Workflows are server-side triggers that can execute when certain things happen. In our case, they will compile the firmware after we make changes to the code. And as I said, this will happen server-side. GitHub will compile the firmware for you, which means you don't have to set up any development environment on your machine. Okay, you should probably read and understand this. You can of course take a look at the files that define the workflows. I trust myself, so I will go ahead and enable the workflows for this repository. And now it's time to make some changes to the code. For the purpose of this demonstration, let's say that we want to change the HID Remapper's USB vendor ID and product ID. It's just an example, maybe your reasons for recompiling the firmware are different. Okay, we need to find the file that we want to change. I happen to know it's in firmware, src, and it's named tinyUSB stuff. Here are the IDs that I want to change. I click the edit button. As you can see, we're doing everything from the browser. Let's change the IDs to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, this is just an example. Okay, commit the changes. And let's ignore good practices for now and just commit. Okay, you'll notice that it says your branch is now one commit ahead of my branch. But the interesting part is in the Actions tab. As soon as we made our changes, GitHub started compiling the firmware for us. As you can see, two jobs are running. One compiles the regular firmware and the other compiles the Bluetooth version. It will usually take a few minutes. When it turns green, it means the job is done and the firmware has finished compiling. If it turns red, it means the job has failed, probably because we made some mistake in the code. Click on the one that says Build RP2040 if you want the regular USB variant, and on the one that says Build NRF52 if you want the Bluetooth variant. At the bottom there will be an artifacts section. Click on Artifact and it will download a zip file containing all the firmware files that it just compiled with your changes. Take the file that's right for your HID Remapper variant, flash it and see if it behaves the way you wanted it to. If not, change the code again and repeat. And this is how you can compile custom HID Remapper firmware using only a web browser. Okay, I hope this is useful. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.